Hey everybody, what's up? I'm Steven, and Marvel just released the third episode of WandaVision on Disney Plus. And whether or not you were a fan of the first two episodes, because I've heard mixed reviews about the show, like some people think it's boring, some people don't like it. This episode definitely shed some light on what exactly is going on and kind of moved things forward in new and exciting ways. There is so much to unpack from this episode, including some major scenes that impacted the series in a big way, and I'm going to be covering all of them in today's video. And there will, of course, be spoilers. If you haven't seen that yet, obviously, go check that out first, and then come back to this video. Um, Now let's get into the review. Right away in the episode, like very early on, within the first couple minutes, I think, Vision kind of starts to suspect some things aren't right. Like Wanda mentions that the neighbors seem to be doing some things, or that they might find out their secret, that she's pregnant, which they're trying to keep her pregnancy a secret, which we found out about at the end of the second episode. But also, I guess she would be referring to the fact that they're here, like something is going on, so that's their big secret, is that she's a wizard or a witch, I guess, and things like that. But Vision then mentions how he's noticed strange occurrences with like the neighbors, like with Agnes and their neighbor Herb, who was outside cutting the hedges, but he ended up like cutting through the wall, and he like wouldn't stop even when Vision told him to. So he was kind of having this weird like glitch thing, I guess, which fits into the show. Or he wasn't aware of what was going on. So like Vision noticed that. He noticed a couple other things from the previous two episodes as well, and he starts to question Wanda, sort of like asking her, or not really asking her, but he mentions how he noticed these things. And then he says, I think something is very wrong here. So then Wanda kind of just blinks and sort of rewinds that little bit. And then Vision says something totally different. So obviously, Wanda is trying to hide some of these things. Because she wants to prevent him from asking any further questions. She does this, like she did this in the first two episodes too, when Vision's boss from his job started asking questions about where they came from and when they got married and all this other stuff. Basically he started choking, which I guess would be Wanda's way of stopping him from asking these questions. Every time somebody starts to ask questions about the outside world or notice that things aren't what they seem in her little bubble, she seems to stop it. Even last week on episode 2 with the beekeeper that popped out of the sewers and stuff, he had the sword logo on, and she didn't want that, so she rewound it and got rid of him and changed the environment around her so that they couldn't break in anymore. But now, since Vision's doing it, I guess she wouldn't want to like harm Vision in any way, so she just kind of rewound it a little bit, and then he says something different, and they move on with their day. I thought this was like a big scene because obviously, just in that little scene there, a lot goes on because he's like, you can tell Vision is starting to become inquisitive about what's going on. Like he's starting to put the pieces together, sort of like he knows something is up, but he doesn't know what is going on, which kind of plays into this whole thing that maybe he's not really alive, or he's only alive because Wanda brought him back somehow and he doesn't know how he got there. That's kind of one of my questions, is like, does Vision even know that he died? Like, does he remember that he died? He seems to be putting all these pieces together, and I think eventually he's going to figure out that everything isn't what it seems, and then that's going to lead to a conflict between him and Wanda or something along those lines. But right now, it's just bits and pieces of it. And I think throughout the next few episodes, we're going to see that he's going to start to ask more questions and things like that. She's going to have to change something so she doesn't have to kick him out either, because she wouldn't want to do that. He's part of her little dream world. He's like her everything, so she's going to have to stop him from asking all these questions, but he's going to keep figuring it out. I assume is where it's going with that. He's kind of, because he's, like a robot, so he's getting all this information, he's processing it like a detective. But just that little scene there was very important to like how much we know about Wanda so far, and how much we're seeing that this is affecting her. Like, she gets mad basically every time somebody's asking her questions. Now that we know she's changing things, like that's a huge plot point for the future of the show. Throughout the episode, Wanda and Vision kind of prepare for Wanda having babies. Like, immediately at the start of the episode, she's pregnant, and they have a doctor in there that confirms it and everything else. And then throughout the episode, she's all of a sudden getting bigger and things like she goes through 9 months of pregnancy through this one episode. It's in like pretty much a day almost, or the span of a few days maybe. I'm not really sure the exact time span, because there's a couple like cuts, like it goes to commercial like it did last week, and then eventually by the end of the episode she gives birth to twins. Which along the way though, this made her powers go crazy for a while, and things start happening not just in her house but across town too, because like some people their neighbor's power goes out, or the sprinklers go off in her house. So I think that happens at other places, pipes bursting, things like that. So that shows you how powerful Wanda is when she can't control her powers. So like, we're kind of getting a glimpse at how powerful she really will be when she can control her powers for good, and actually knows how deep her powers go. Because I think this is still kind of a learning experience for her as well, learning how truly powerful she really is, and that she can make this little world that she's created. Imagine what she's gonna do with that if she was like to become a villain, or if somebody tries to stop her from doing this. A lot of crazy stuff happened just from her going through 9 months of pregnancy in 9 hours or something like that. Or I mean, it's a half an hour episode, but it's probably a couple days or hours worth of stuff. I just thought that was a really important scene, because now she has babies going forward in the MCU. She has kids now, so how is that going to play into things? Plus, everybody in town now will know that she has kids. I don't know if that's going to play into anything. If they're going to be wondering how she has kids, considering Vision's not a real person. And it also begs the question: did she actually create these kids herself, or is there some other forces at play? Like, I've heard Mephisto might be involved in this, like behind the scenes, sort of. It's like a theory, but I guess that's how it was in the comic books. So I guess we'll see how that goes. But that's definitely one of the biggest takeaways from this episode, was that now Wanda and Vision have kids now. Closer to the end of the episode, Vision is outside, and he notices Agnes and their neighbor Herb standing there. I don't know if his name is Herbert and Vision just calls him Herb or whatever, but Vision overhears Agnes and Herb talking about how something seems off about Geraldine, and when he asks them about it, they tell him how she doesn't have a home anywhere in town, or a family, or a husband, or anything like that, and it seems strange that she's here. And Herb basically almost kind of breaks away from the spell and kind of says she's here because we're all, and that's all he gets out of it before Agnes stops him. So that's sort of like he was about to tell Vision that we're all trapped here and she's here to save us, or something along those lines. But obviously, if Agnes is some sort of if Agnes is involved in this somehow, in Wanda doing all of this, she wouldn't want anyone to find out. So she kind of stops Herb from doing it, from saying these things. And this is like the only time we actually see Agnes in this whole episode. Other than in the beginning, there's like the new preview, like the start of the episode going into it, when it says like WandaVision and everything else, we see her in that, but that's it. So this is the only, considering this is the only time, and this is a big moment in the show, kind of plays into the fact that, yeah, Agnes, there's probably something going on with Agnes, that she's either in control of everything, or she's helping Wanda kind of contain her powers, or something along those lines, or Agnes is working for Mephisto, as I've heard. But this was a weird moment as well, and that's another thing, like, since it was the beginning of the episode where Vision started to question things and it sort of got rewound, he starts to question things again because now they're mentioning Geraldine. Meanwhile, in the house, though, Wanda's talking to Geraldine about her twins, because Geraldine helped her have the babies, and she mentions her brother Pietro. She said, "I'm a twin, I had a brother and then she starts singing to the babies in her Sokovian accent, and then Geraldine responds and says he died, or he was killed by Ultron, wasn't he? And then that's kind of where Wanda figures out that she's from the outside world, and Geraldine's name obviously isn't really Geraldine. Um, I guess it's Monica Rambeau, but we haven't heard that yet in the show. But I guess it was revealed when she was cast to be on the show. Um, so then Wanda actually like kicks her out of Westview, basically out of the bubble, and she goes flying out like we saw in the trailers and lands at the feet of like some of the sword agents and stuff who come to pick her up. That gives me the impression that Wanda is in control, and because now Geraldine was from the outside world, she saw the sword logo on her necklace. She's like, well, you need to get out of here then. So she sent her out. That was probably the most important thing in this whole episode, because now Monica is back outside the world, and she probably won't find a way in. Plus, at the end, Wanda sort of like changed reality again to probably block them from getting in, because she keeps changing the era of TV for the show so that they can't break in, or it's harder for them to get in. But obviously, this was the most important thing, and now we see that they are all outside, like looking in. Essentially, there's like a wall there that's contains Wanda's little world, and then people trying to go in and out of it, and they either get looped into it, like where they start to lose their memory, or they're getting brainwashed by Wanda, which I guess is what happened with Monica, unless she sort of was just playing along the whole time. But now that she's back out there, it's like, is she going to be able to get back in again? There's just so many questions. This show has a lot of mysteries to it, and I'm looking forward to see where it goes in the future. So there you go, guys. That was my review of WandaVision Episode 3. Let me know what you guys thought down in the comments section, and be sure to like this video and subscribe for more. I'm going to be reviewing every episode of WandaVision throughout the weeks until the series is over, and then of course I'll do Captain America not Captain America Winter Soldier, Falcon and the Winter Soldier, and all the other Marvel Disney Plus shows to come as well. So stick around for those if you're a Marvel fan. Every Saturday I'm going to be doing this, so keep an eye out for that, everybody. Take care and stay safe out there.
Subscribe.